Rene Descartes, 1596–1650, was a first-rate mathematician, a significant scientific thinker, and an innovative metaphysician. Throughout his life, he was first a mathematician, then a natural scientist or natural philosopher, and a metaphysician. Descartes wanted to apply the mathematical technique to philosophy as well because the reason for its certainty is the unique methodology used by mathematics. Descartes begins by questioning the conventional techniques of gaining knowledge in several areas of sensory perception. He proposes to doubt everything that can be disputed in order to arrive at an undeniable truth, which would serve as the beginning point for all knowledge in philosophy. The primary objective of philosophy in the modern period is to redefine itself as a foundational discipline that clarifies the fundamental questions about knowledge. Unlike ancient philosophy, it no longer deals with the question of ultimate reality, and instead inquires about the nature, kinds, limitations, and sources of knowledge. The Meditations are often regarded as the foundation of contemporary Western philosophy. Descartes flips numerous Aristotelian principles and outlines many of the philosophical concerns that are being contested even today in his work. Descartes, among other things, deconstructs the Aristotelian assumption that all knowledge comes through the senses and that mental states must resemble what they are about. In doing so, he creates a totally new view of mind, matter, and thoughts. Descartes is primarily interested in how to achieve philosophical truth through the application of reason. He inquires, how can I obtain clear and precise knowledge? His goal was to create a system of true propositions in which nothing was assumed that was not self-evident and undeniable. As a result, he envisioned creating a knowledge system with strong foundations that would be devoid of doubt. In other words, Descartes seeks the certainty of mathematical proof for philosophical purposes. This philosophy would be founded on intuition and deduction, which would be as definite and eternal as geometry. He had a broad view of philosophy that included metaphysics, natural sciences, mechanics, and morality. In order to arrive at such a foundational belief, Descartes proposes a method of doubt. He proposes to doubt everything that can be doubted in order to arrive at absolute certainty. Descartes initiates what is known as methodical or methodological skepticism, which uses doubt methodically in order to arrive at indubitable true knowledge. The first meditation explains 2 steps in the method. First is that of skepticism about the senses and the rebuttal of radical skepticism. In this section, he recommends doubting everything that can be disputed in order to arrive at the undeniable beginning point of all knowledge. Secondly, Descartes, after presenting the skeptical element of his approach, endeavors to refute his own skepticism in order to reach the indubitable foundation of philosophy. He, therefore, claims that, while he can dispute many things, including the existence of the universe in which he lives, the fact that he doubts is beyond all doubts. As a result, He cannot dispute his own existence since he must exist in order to doubt. The fact that I am in doubt cannot be doubted. I, therefore, exist, because I think, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. The I exist therefore, is the absolutely certain, self-evident, and indubitable first principle. It is the only necessary truth, according to Descartes. Descartes then concentrates further on this cogito, attempting to comprehend its true nature. All that could be said about it is that it is a thinking thing. This is because I only know that I exist when I think. As a result, Descartes concludes that I am nothing more than a thinking object, a mind. The cogito is therefore a creature that doubts, imagines, comprehends, affirms, denies, conceives, senses, wills, rejects, and so on. Sir Anthony John Patrick Kenny, the renowned British philosopher, says, "There are two key ideas that are presented in the discourse and elaborated in later works. First, human beings are thinking substances. Second, matter is an extension in motion." Everything in his system is to be explained in terms of this dualism of mind and matter. If we nowadays tend naturally to think of mind and matter as the two great mutually exclusive and mutually exhaustive divisions of the universe we inhabit, that is because of Descartes. Solipsism is the philosophical belief that only one's mind exists for certain. It is an epistemic viewpoint that maintains that knowledge of anything outside one's own mind is uncertain. The external world and other minds cannot be known and may not exist outside the mind. The cogito has demonstrated that I exist as a mind with my own ideas. However, this does not rule out the prospect of my mind being the only true entity, and the rest being nothing more than imagination. Descartes must demonstrate that something other than his own mind and its thoughts exist in order to escape such solipsistic conclusions. Do material objects exist? Are the outside world with all its people real? To address this question, Descartes delves deeper into what we often refer to as perceptual knowledge. He claims that even in perception, it is the mind rather than the senses that are functional. Descartes uses the example of a bit of wax to emphasize his point. The wax has obvious properties. It tastes like honey, smells like flowers, has a certain color, size, and shape, is hard and cold, and makes a sound when struck. However, if it is brought near a fire, all of these reasonable properties vanish. Nonetheless, the wax remains. As a result, Descartes concludes that what the senses perceived was not the wax itself. The wax itself is made up of numerous properties such as extension, flexibility, and motion which are understood by the mind. Therefore, the wax itself is not sensible, as it is equally involved in all the appearances of the wax to the various senses. The perception of the wax is not a vision or touch or imagination, but an inspection of the mind. Bodies are not perceived because they are seen and touched, but only because they are understood by the mind. But, just because I perceive them, I cannot be sure of them. Similar experiences occur in such cases of dreams, or, it is also possible that I am being deceived by God. But is God a deceiver? Descartes could be certain of the existence of material objects, which not only includes his own physical body, but also the external world, only if he could prove that there is a God who is not a deceiver. Descartes thus proceeds with the proofs for God's existence with several arguments, many of which were scholastic. Descartes then investigates the thoughts that the mind possesses. There are three basic categories of ideas. Some of them are intrinsic to the mind since they are derived from our own nature and may be recognized by the light of our own reason. These are the innate ideas. The concepts of object or thing, cause, existence, time, space, and fundamental mathematical and logical concepts are innate in our cogito. Hence, irrefutable and indubitable. The second type of ideas in our cogito is called factitious, which is created by human imagination. Mermaids, unicorns, utopias, and future planets are examples. The third form of thought is called adventitious. They are concepts that come from outside of us, that nature provides us, and those are the ones that arrive despite our desire. Examples include hearing a noise and seeing the sun, trees, or colors. Except for the concept of God, he claims that all other notions are imaginary or creations. He believes that God is an actual substance with all good attributes in the maximum degree of reality, according to the classical understanding of substance, that which exists independently of everything else. The idea of God is innate. Descartes advances the first proof of God's existence. It is our innate concept of God which confirms that he is not a liar. Because God exists and is endlessly benevolent, he would not let me be deluded about anything. Just as fundamental mathematical concepts are never wrong, because those are innately given to humans by reason. Similarly, the clear and distinct idea of a benevolent God is innate in us. Therefore God exists, and he is because God is good, he will not behave in the manner of a deceptive devil. As a result, God validates my sensory experiences. God has given me a tremendous desire to believe in bodies. If they do not exist, God would be deceptive. Hence we can say that bodies exist, my own body as well as other bodies. That is, the world of matter exists. So, in effect, Descartes started with his own cogito, the mind. Then he moved on to establish the ultimate substance God in the cogito, and finally established the existence of matter. Descartes' philosophy, therefore, interprets the presence of three substances, God as the ultimate substance, which exists independently of everything else, and mind and body as relative or dependent substances. How did Descartes describe the essence of mind and matter? He studied tangible objects, secure in the confidence that his clear and vivid views are assured by God. He clearly recognizes that the basic attribute of the body or matter is extension, and that the primary attributes of the body are size, form, width, and so on. He concludes that the essence of the body is extension, and the attribute of the mental substance is thought. The two are absolutely separate. Matter is essentially spatial, and it has the characteristic properties of linear dimensionality. Things in space have a position, at least, and a height, a depth, and a length, or one or more of these. Mental entities, on the other hand, do not have these. Cartesian Dualism. Dualism is the belief that something is composed of two fundamentally different components, and it was around long before Descartes put pen to page. Cartesian dualism deals specifically with the dual existence of man. Descartes believed that a man consisted of matter, the physical stuff that walks and talks, and mind, the non-physical substance, sometimes equated with the soul, that thinks. One of the major difficulties this Cartesian dualism faced is with regard to the explanation of the interrelationship between mind and body. If the mind and body possess diametrically opposite attributes, how can we explain their interaction? Logically speaking, there cannot be any interaction. The mind cannot cause changes in the body, and the body cannot cause changes in the mind. Mind-body interaction. Descartes held a mechanical view of the material universe, in which matter goes about its business and obeys its own rules until tampered with by the intellect. The mind just pulls the levers of the body to do its will. It is debatable how the non-physical mind interacts with the physical body. Descartes thought the pineal gland in the brain was the site of interaction between the mind and body, since it was the only portion of the brain that wasn't a duplication. Descartes distinguished between the brain and the mind. The brain acts as a link between the mind and the body, but it is not the true mind because it is a physical, dynamic object. Man's intellect is complete and unchangeable, although his body can be altered. You can shave your hair, have your appendix removed, or even lose a leg, but this does not diminish your mind. Descartes also considered the man to be the sole dualistic creation. He relegated animals to the domain of the strictly physical, mechanical universe, functioning solely on instinct and natural rules. Descartes' dualism beliefs were influenced in part by his most famous philosophical attempt to cast doubt on everything with the aim of discovering a fundamental, incontrovertible truth. As a result, he coined the phrase cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Descartes might dispute the reality of the physical universe and even his own body, but he could not doubt the existence of his mind, since doubting is a cognitive process. The act of doubting one's own existence demonstrates that one exists, otherwise, who is doubting? One of Descartes' philosophy's most profound and long-lasting legacies is his belief that the mind and body are truly distinct, a belief today known as MindBody Dualism. He comes to this conclusion by arguing that the nature of the mind, that is, a thinking, non-extended object, is totally distinct from that of the body, that is, an extended, non-thinking thing, and so one may exist without the other. This argument gives rise to the famous problem of mind-body causal interaction, which is still debated today. How can the mind cause some of our bodily limbs to move, for example, raising one's hand to ask a question? And how can the body's sense organs cause sensations in the mind when their natures are completely different?